Your final project. Let me say a few words here, get you familiar. Obviously, you've got the document that you can read in full, but it's helpful to have me speak about it, I think. So, your final project, remember, it is 15% of your overall grade. Um, so, it's a little bit more than the first project. There are some, similarities between this and the first project, but there are some key differences as well. First thing you notice, there will be a proposal due and then your final report due. So the idea here with the final project, I'm not providing a list of topics. So what was nice in the first project, you could pick your topic and just execute what it asked. In the final project, it's actually up to you, the student, to come up with the topic of what you want to study. And you will submit that to me, and I'll talk about all the details here in a minute, but you'll submit a proposal with your idea for what to study and to analyze, and then along with some other things that I ask for. So your proposal is due on December 8th, and then 10 days later, the report is due. On that note, you can submit your proposal earlier to me than that, and again, you don't even know what it is, but you certainly don't have to wait until December 8th if you want to get started on things a little bit earlier. Your proposal does have to be approved before you can continue on and go through and collect data and do all of that. Okay, so let me speak a little bit, just kind of read through this thing. So it says, working with a partner or individually, create either an original survey to administer or an original experiment to conduct. So here in the final project, a little bit different than the first project. In the first project, you could have worked in groups of 2 or 3. But here in the final project, I'm going to say one partner only, so groups of 2 at most, or working individually. And I think that will work well. And okay, so what is this? Create an original survey or an original experiment. So what I recommend to create an original survey or an original experiment, you're thinking, wow, what would I do? I have to come up with this on my own. Where do you start? Think of something that is interesting to you. Something that is of interest that you enjoy, a hobby, anything. Any topic that you just naturally like. Don't think about math, don't think about school or statistics, certainly. Just think, what's something that I just enjoy doing that I would like to study? And then let it flow from there. Maybe it'll be a survey you do. Maybe it'll be an experiment. I'll just tell you, in the past, more students go with the survey. That's a little bit easier usually than the experiment, but sometimes people are very creative and they come up with some really cool experiments. And it says in either case, you will use descriptive statistics to analyze 1 and 2 variable results. So descriptive statistics, that's what we did with the first project, right? That's your histograms, your box plots, bar graphs, finding mean and median and quartiles. Okay, that's all descriptive statistics. You will also use inferential statistics to analyze the validity of the results relative to a larger population. So that is your confidence intervals and your hypothesis tests. Okay. The project must include both descriptive and inferential statistics. Okay, a little bit more on the survey option versus the experiment option. Let's say you're going with the survey option. What would it look like? The survey should contain 3 to 5 questions on a topic that interests you. We don't want this to be too short, but we don't want it to be too long. So anywhere from 3 to 5 questions will be perfect. Include at least 2 questions for which you think the results might each be normally distributed. So you might have some questions that are like yes or no kind of questions. That's great. Use those questions. But we want some questions, at least 2, that are that would gather quantitative data, right, numbers, and that quantitative data might be, we don't know for sure before we ask, but it might be normally distributed. Okay. Um, and so we come up with a few questions that are interesting to you, and that will be plenty. Really, anything that you find interesting, you could apply to this final project and you could make it work. If you want to go with the experiment, say it says conduct an experiment of a topic of interest. Okay, include 2 or more experimental groups and a control group, so at least 3 groups in all. Let me give you just a quick example of something that I might do if I was in your position. So something that interests me, I enjoy working out. I work out at my house. I got my barbell here and I've got some other things. So I might do a survey based on working out, so I could, maybe say, hey, how many days a week do you work out? Yes or no? That'd probably be a good first question. And then if you do work out, how many days a week? How many minutes per session? What exactly do you do? Do you prefer lifting weights or maybe like running and cardio? Do you go to the gym or do you work out at home? And even in those, like how many minutes you work out, that might be normally distributed, right? You would think most people are probably around like 45 minutes to an hour. But then there's going to be some people that go longer, some people that go shorter. So there's just an idea of a survey. An experiment. So again, most people go with the survey, but what could you do with the experiment here? So what if I enjoy working out and I wanted to do an experiment? I could maybe get some friends. I wouldn't even have to bring them all in one place. I would just say, hey, do as many push-ups as you can in 1 minute. Okay, then rest for 1 minute and then do as many just like body weight squats. And I would give them like the details of what it would look like to do it, and maybe give them like a helpful video or link or something. Okay, do as many squats as you can in a minute, then rest a minute, then do this other thing for a minute, and how many can you do? All right, then a couple days later, I might come back and say, okay, let's all take some kind of a drink before we do this experiment again. So you drink water, but you over here, you drink this energy drink, or you drink a cup of coffee, or you drink apple juice, and then we'll do the experiment a second time and we'll see if there's any changes, right? So the experimental groups there would be the people who drank something. Maybe the control group is like if there was somebody who didn't drink anything at all, or maybe water would be a control group. And so we could turn that into an experiment. So that just goes to show you anything that's of interest to you, you could create a survey, or you could even come up with an experiment if you wanted to go that direction. Okay, so what does it look like? What is this proposal all about? So not only are you going to tell me what you're interested in studying, but there's going to be a lot more details too. So submit a proposal that addresses each item below, and you'll simply email that to me. There's my email there on the page by the due date for approval. Okay, so you're going to include these 4 things. This is all I want to know, exactly these 4 things. So just address them one at a time. So you, your name, your partner's name, right? Whether you'll do the survey or experiment, just tell me we're doing the survey or we're doing the experiment. And then if it's a survey, right, I don't have to read this whole thing, but you'll follow what it says. So you'll tell me the questions, et cetera, et cetera. If you're doing an experiment, then you'll give me a thorough description of the experiment, how you're going to go about it, all the things that it asks for there. Then number 4, notice, you're going to tell me 2 claims. Okay, these are going to be the basis for your hypothesis tests. You're going to end up doing 2 hypothesis tests and 2 confidence intervals to go with them. So 2 claims, which are like predictions of the outcome of the survey or experiment. So maybe for my push-up thing, maybe if it was my experiment, one of my claims might be, the person who drinks the energy drink is going to be able to do more push-ups than they did previously. Like, that's it. Just they're going to be able to do more push-ups than they did the first time. Or I might say, the person who drank water is going to be able to do more push-ups than the other people. You know, something. I mean, any of these claims, we can get it to fit with a hypothesis test. Okay. And I should note what's down there at the bottom. It is understood that some of the proposal details may need to be altered, right? So 9 times out of 10, we're going to have to kind of play with the language and the wording, and maybe just how a survey, you know, certain survey questions or the way the experiment is being conducted. And this is kind of part of the reason why it needs approval, is so that I can have a look at it, and we'll really fine tune it together by email to get it to fit, and you'll be, you know, off on the right track when you gather your data and you perform your hypothesis test, because it's easy to get off track with these when you create it by yourself. So it's understood there might be some back and forth emails just to figure that out. So long as that first email comes to me by the due date for the proposal, that's all great. And by the way, there are examples of a survey proposal and an experiment proposal on the last page down here. So again, I won't read any of this, but if you want to kind of look to a guide, what does your proposal need to look like exactly? This is all I want to see. Okay, so what's on this second page? Administering the survey, conducting the experiment. I won't read that, but you know, you're gonna think about these things. And analysis, you're gonna do your descriptive statistics and your inferential statistics. I won't talk about that. You can read all this. The project report. Okay, it's due on December 18th. That's a Friday. I felt it made more sense to make this due on a Friday than a Thursday, give you an extra day. Here's what I'm looking for in that report. These 7 items. Okay, so when you turn in your report, I'll just tell you right here, I am grading you based on these 7 things. And you know how well you perform these 7 things. So when you go to write up your report, come back to this document, make sure you did each of these 7. I'll tell you from experience, I've been teaching this class over 2 years, and every semester, and I've been doing these final projects, and where people lose points is they don't do some of these 7. I don't know why. I don't understand it. Don't skip any of these. Okay, so you got an intro paragraph, you know, your descriptive statistics, your raw data, or description of your method. So you'll be talking about that, your sampling method. You did that in the first project. Then you've got your descriptive stats here, write your graphs and stuff. Then you've got your claims, your hypothesis tests, the types of error that are at risk. Okay, think about that. Type 1 error, type 2 error, and your confidence intervals. Okay. The interpretations of your hypothesis test, like that one sentence, you know, there is enough evidence or there is not enough evidence, etc. Those need to be there. And then finally, a concluding paragraph, just what's your takeaway after doing your tests and doing this whole thing. What did you learn about your, you know, about whatever topic it was that you were studying? Make sure you hit all those 7 things. And if you do, you're likely to do quite well on this final project. That's all I have to say. Of course, you can email me anything, questions, and then certainly be thinking about what topic you might want to study, and you know, getting together your ideas. And you can most definitely submit your proposal to me before December 8th. In fact, I encourage that. That'll just give you more time to work on the report itself once you get approved. Okay, that's it.